How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. Just to mix things up, we're going to try something a little bit different. So in my spare time when I'm not out diving or looking for gold, I do a bit of work on houses. So in these next sets of videos, I'm going to bring you through the entire process just so you can do it for yourself. So that's from purchasing the property right through to the sale of the house. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button to keep up with all the latest posts. So with that said, let's begin the build process. So the first step in building a house is of course finding a decent block of land, and for that you would need to get the town planner. Fortunately, I'm a town planner, so I do all my planning work for myself, so I can bring you through and explain the entire process. So the land I've purchased for some people screams just a massive problem because of its location, zoning, size, and the age of the house. The house you can see on your screen now is on land that's about 650 or so square meters in a character zone that allows for a minimum lot size of 450 square meters. So subdivision on this lot would just be stupid and would never be approved. Now I'm not too sure about other planning rules and regulations in other Australian states or other countries, but in Queensland where I'm doing this application, there is a rule where a house that's built in 1946 or before that, so around the World War II time, the faces that you can see from the streets have to be protected and are pretty much untouchable. So this house is located in a character zone, meaning that the houses in this area have some sort of design aspect that council wants to keep the characteristics of. So as you can imagine, this house is a bit of a risk, but this house has stood out to me for one reason. So as far as I know, every block of land is located within a specific zone, and that specific zone has certain outcomes that council would like to meet to protect that zone. And for this zone in particular, the character residential zone where this house is located only allows for residential houses. And this to me is why I purchased this property. So when I first looked into this house, everything told me that it was impossible to subdivide. But then when looking into it deeper, I found that the house and land had an application over it to turn it into a cafe. As you can see on your screens now, this was the original plans for the house from the previous owner. The house would have been lifted and renovated to allow for a brand new cafe, turning the entire backyard into a car park. And this application right here is what I'll be using against council to push my ideas through to create 2 brand new houses on this exact block of land. Currently, as you can see, the house sits right in the center of the block of land, and because it's such a wide house, it can't be split lengthways. Otherwise, the house would just go over both blocks of land. So the only option here is to split the house the other way to create 2 square-shaped blocks, just like you can see now. So with that all figured out, we have to talk to a surveyor and an architect to begin getting the first sets of plans drawn up. As you can see now, the first sets of plans have been prepared, ready to send over to council. If approved, then the current 658 square metre lot will become one 393 square metre lot and one 256 square metre lot. The plan now for this house is to pick up and rotate the existing house on the corner and shift it right to the other side of the block to face a brand new road. After that first house has been built, the block of land will then be split, leaving a 393 square metre block for a brand new house to be built on. With the plans all ready to be sent over to council, I can begin preparing the town planning report and the code assessment. Like I said before, I am a town planner, so I just do this for myself, so I'll give you a pretty brief explanation of the entire report process. Now I won't get into too much depth of the planning and code assessment report because it's just boring and I don't like doing it either. So the planning report that I write here is a very thick document. This is pretty much just a way of sharing to council your views and your points as to why your development should be approved on this specific block of land. Everyone has to do it. So as you can see here, it's pretty much just a normal report template. You begin with a general introduction of the land and then go into a description of the proposal. After this, it's pretty much just a bunch of words backing up the proposal that you carry across from your code assessment report. Unlike some other planners, I've had some renders prepared using the CAD files drawn up by the architect. I do this in my reports just because I know people struggle to read plans, and if you can just show them a picture of what the house is going to look like, it's much easier and quicker doing it that way. Now for the important part, the only bit that council really cares about is the code compliance section of your report. So as I said before, each property in Australia falls within a specific zone, and that specific zone has a set of codes that you have to respond to so you can demonstrate to council that your proposal meets their objectives. In addition to responding to the zone codes, you also have to respond to the overlay codes specifically for that property. So as an example, let's say you'd purchase a property in Australia that was affected by bushfires and flooding. You would then have to respond in your code compliance report to the bushfire overlay code and the flood overlay code. It's pretty much just a way to back up that your design to council has been designed to withstand these events. The code compliance report is set out like you can see now. It's a very large document, so if you're doing this yourself, there's no need to stress because it's actually a pretty simple process. Right here you have your acceptable outcomes. This is what council wants you to achieve, and if you achieve it, then you can just write something like the proposed development complies with the acceptable outcome. Some planners even just write complies. There's really not much to it, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because it just looks lazy in your report. Now the main bits in the code compliance report is the performance outcomes. When you can't meet the acceptable outcomes in the first column that I showed you before, you have to respond to the performance outcomes right here. These require a more detailed response. In my specific council area, the council will list in the performance outcome column a number or list of things that they would like to see in my design. And in my responses to council, just like you can see here now, I like to answer each of council's points in the exact same order just so it's much easier for them to read. But like I said earlier, the code compliance report is the main section of the town planning report. It's really not a difficult task. The hardest bit of this is just understanding council's wording sometimes. It's such a difficult thing that even confuses me sometimes, and it's just a very time-consuming process. Now with all that done, we are now ready to lodge the planning application with the codes and the relevant plans right to council. This can usually be done through the council website or just a direct email to your local council office. Now to the part that most people want to know, just so you have an idea of the costs involved in this. For me to submit this subdivision application with 2 houses cost me about $3,500 to council in Australian dollars. The cost in hiring a town planner, if you were not to do it for yourself, it's about $150 to $200 per hour for them to work on your report. Now that the report's been sent over to council, it's pretty much just a long waiting game until you get your next email that your report has been successfully submitted and you can move on to the next stage. Now the next stage of the development application process is the public notification stage. In my case, I have to do this because mine's an impact accessible application. If you have a standard application that meets all council's criteria, then you don't have to do this. You can just go straight to your approval and start building. So essentially when you're doing town planning, there are 2 types of applications. There are code applications and there are impact accessible applications. Just to give you an example, let's just say my property that I'd purchased was a 900 square metre block and I could meet council's requirements of creating 2 450 square metre lots. That's fine, that's what they want and you can go ahead and do that. Because mine's a 650 or so square metre lot and I'm making I think it was 300 and a 290 square metre lot, I fall out of that acceptable category of providing both lots a 450 square metre size. This means my application to council will be an impact accessible application. Now the main difference between a code and impact accessible application is pretty much just the size and public notification requirements. The size of an impact accessible application will obviously have more performance outcomes to tick because you don't meet council's initial criteria, so they want to make sure that your design is livable and you can put a house on that block of land. The second point is public notification. When you lodge to council and you receive your confirmation notice that your application is being properly submitted, you have a 15 or 30-day period where you have to have a sign out the front of your house with a plan of what you plan to do. This stage in the application process will allow the neighbouring residents or pretty much anyone who sees your sign to comment to council about their concerns to stop you from building that house or even to support your house. So because I knew before I submitted to council that my application was going to be an impact accessible application, I went around to the neighbours, told them my ideas and that I wasn't going to build the original cafe that everyone pretty much was against, and my idea was going to be much more beneficial for the neighbourhood. So by doing this, I was able to receive 3 positive submissions for the house. This will go a long way when backing up my proposal to council, so they can see that it will benefit the neighbourhood instead of just making something that's going to damage the road infrastructure and make it a much busier place. Now with all that done, the public notifications all gone through, we've submitted our 3 positive submissions. It's pretty much just a waiting game now, and hopefully we'll come back in the next couple of days with a letter of approval saying we can go ahead and build. So everyone, it's been almost 3 months now since I lodged the application and began the public notification period, and annoyingly the proposal was refused by council. So just so you understand, and if you're doing this for yourself, when your application gets refused by your local council, they will issue you a list of items for their reasons as to why they refused your submission. And in my case for this application, the council refused my proposal because of the new lot sizes and the movement of the existing house. The refusal letter, if you're interested in seeing it, looks something like what's on your screen now. There's not much really to it, it's just a standard letter layout and gets sent to your email, and then it's uploaded to the council website. Although the application has been refused by council, there's still a chance that this application can still get pushed through because the extra work that we've done, like talking to the neighbours and getting their submissions and their views on the development, and putting all that extra effort into the report. So because we've done all that existing work in the beginning, before we even submitted the applications, like getting the statements from the surrounding residents saying that they support the application and they're completely against what's already been approved over the lot for the new food and drink outlet, I've decided to appeal council's decision, which involves taking them to the planning and environmental court, where hopefully all of this can get solved during the mediation stage and we don't even need to make it into the courtroom. So even though we've received a formal letter from council saying that the application's been refused, the process isn't over just yet. Now, for those who haven't heard about this, the appeal process stage is when council refuses your application and you have a chance to go to the court or into the mediation and have your application overturned and approved. The mediation stage in the appeal process is basically where you just go into a room with a judge, the council and your own team, and you both share your opinions on the development application to hopefully come to a resolution that favours both sides. Now, I find that when going into the mediation process, it's best to have a bunch of alternatives written down, and then you present first the alternative that best suits you and where you will benefit the most. From there, you work back and meet council in the middle so you have a solid design strategy. By having all those alternatives down before you even get into court, it just speeds up the process by so much and it'll save you a lot of money. In addition to bringing all those extra items into the mediation room, because I already know that council is against their houses, I'm going to get some more letters of support from even more residents around the area. This is another strategy of mine that I like to do, just in case they push back and say that no one will support their houses. I can lay down even more letters of support so they can see right in front of them that people will be in support of this over what's already approved. Sadly, because the mediation is handled in the planning and environmental court in a private room, I will not be able to bring you guys in with me. But in the next stage of this video, I will tell you exactly what happened on the inside so you can get an understanding of what happens. So everyone, now that the mediation process is complete, I can tell you exactly what happened inside the meeting room. As expected, we went into the mediation room, council got the first say, so they basically started off with saying that no one would support their houses because of the reasons stated in the refusal. So that was the new proposed lot sizes and the movement of the existing house from the corner to the other side of the lot. They then went on to say that they would prefer the existing cafe approval over the site as opposed to what I proposed, or just to have a full renovation of the existing house, lift it up and leave it where it was. After the council's team finished their say about the proposal, I basically just laid down an additional 12 letters of support. Each letter was basically saying that they support the house and they were completely against the cafe, which really went in my favour. And in addition to that, we also had those extra letters of support right from the beginning of the DA process where people were able to submit and share their concerns with the proposal. After I had laid down those extra letters of support and after my planning solicitor had spoken, it basically shut down the majority of council's points of argument. From there, I then requested a redesign of the existing plans to something that's suitable for both sides, but would still allow for the development of 2 new houses on that first block of land. As I mentioned earlier in this video, the council's main reasons for refusal was the proposed lot sizes and the movement of the house in the corner to the very far side. So what we've agreed to now is to keep the existing house located where it is, but to just lift it and rotate to face the new street frontage. The smallest lot that was initially proposed was about 250 square meters. That will now change to 290 square meters. Once his new set of plans have been prepared, I'll then send it over to the council's representative just to show him that all of our discussion points have been addressed in this revised set. I'll then move on to a minor change and lodge that with the council. Because the changes that I'm proposing will still lead to the creation of 2 houses, it's just going to be a minor change. A minor change is basically just a letter from a town planner or your planning solicitor. It'll basically just detail the changes that you've made between the first submitted set of plans to your newly submitted plans, just so it's down in writing and they know what's going to happen. The minor change process can't be done with every single application, so be careful when doing this for yourself. If I was to go in and say that I wanted a cafe or a shop or something on this block of land, I would have to start the entire process all again. Great news everyone, we now have confirmation from council that the newly proposed set of plans after the mediation has been approved. Like I said before, the letters from council, there's not much to it. It's basically just a letter saying that congratulations, your application's been approved. It then comes with your stamped set of plans and a pack for the development application conditions. If you're unaware as to what the DA conditions are, an example will pop up on your screen now as to what mine looks like. Every development application will get one of these. It's basically just a checklist or a set of rules. It's just to show you certify or cancel that what you have built is in accordance with the proposed plans. As you can see here, it'll say things like you can't begin building the second house until the first house has been built, and other general rules like you can only build between the times of 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. on certain days. So with the new set of plans that you can now see on your screen, we have agreed that the existing house will stay on the corner of the block, but we'll still have a full rotation to face a brand new street. The biggest design change will be that the existing house in the corner will have a new driveway coming in from the other street with a brand new garage. The other big change will be the agreed lot sizes. The house in the corner will have a 290 square meter lot, and the new house will have a 358 square meter lot. Now that we've pretty much finished with the town planning design stages, we can start with demolition of the house to get the house ready to be lifted up and spun around. If you've enjoyed the video so far, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button to keep up with all the future posts and updates. Also, as I said earlier, feel free to have a look through the plans, share your ideas in the comment section below to have your ideas put into the house. And with all that done, I'll see you in the next stage.